really need a haircut. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Bolivios. I've got in front of me two microphones and they are exactly the same. They are the Behringer XM8500. I've got them running into the same USB interface, the Focusrite Scarlett 2i4, and I've even got the same XLR cables going into each one. The only difference between the two is that one's got a FetHead and one does not. And the reason I'm making this video is because I've been asked a few times whether or not it's worth buying a FetHead, and do you actually need one, especially for a microphone like the Behringer? And I'm going to try and answer that question. The short answer, if you don't want to watch the video, is no, you do not need one, especially for this microphone. And what I'm going to try and do is show why you don't need one, and also explain why I actually have one, even though you don't really need one. So what I'm going to do is, as well as try and balance the audio between the two of these microphones so you can see if there's a difference or not, I'm going to read a transcript from a podcast I did last March or April when I was stuck in a hotel room during the pandemic. And that was on a podcast about caffeine. And so I'm going to read some of that, and I'm going to do one in one microphone, one in the other, and hopefully you can see whether or not there's a difference or whether you think there's no difference at all. And then I'm going to show you the settings that I've got on my Focusrite for each one, and then explain why I actually own one. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into GarageBand now and let's take a look. What you can see here is two tracks. The first one has got me recording with the FetHead and the second one is without. I've recorded the same thing at the same distance, and as you can see on the 2 meters, I've tried to match the gain as best as I can. There might be a little bit of discrepancy, but what I'm going to do, I'm not applying any processing whatsoever. There's no EQing. This is just purely the sound from the Behringer. The only thing I might do is just level it up a little bit in terms of increasing the gain just for YouTube, but otherwise they are identical. So let's begin. In order to produce energy, our body breaks down adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. One of the end products of this is adenosine. So as adenosine slowly builds up throughout the day, it starts to act on the receptors, making us less alert and more sleepy, which is one of the reasons why we are tired at the end of a hard day's work, and all we want to do is go to bed. It's our body's incredible way of promoting sleep and telling us it's time to rest. In order to produce energy, our body breaks down adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. One of the end products of this is adenosine. So as adenosine slowly builds up throughout the day, it starts to act on the receptors, making us less alert and more sleepy, which is one of the reasons why we are tired at the end of a hard day's work, and all we want to do is go to bed. It's our body's incredible way of promoting sleep and telling us it's time to rest. Okay, so they were the two scripts. The first one was with the FetHead and the second one was without. What I'm going to do now is I'm not going to talk, and these are just recordings of just the background noise, so you can see if the FetHead adds or decreases noise, the noise floor. And what you might want to do is turn up your volume, try and hear this, and just please turn down the volume at the end to keep an eye on the video, so I don't want to blow your eardrums away when I start talking again. Okay, turn down your volume if you've turned it up. Okay, so that was the little demonstration there, and back to the main video. Okay, so I hope that's been useful in terms of being able to tell the difference between using a FetHead and not having a FetHead. That the sound quality is probably, at least to my ears, pretty much the same, but have a see what you think. You'll also notice that the noise floor is pretty much the same as well. So it begs the question, why do I have one? The only reason I have one is because of this. And that's because I use a Rode Procaster on a day-to-day basis, and this is a very gain-hungry microphone. It requires a lot of gain in order to get a good, usable signal. Now, as you noticed on the Focusrite currently, You can see a photo here. These are my current settings. So with the FetHead, which is on channel 1, I've got the gain set to around 20%. On channel 2, without the FetHead, the gain set to probably closer to 80%. Now, what that does, as you turn up the gain, you get a higher noise floor. You get that extra hiss that you might hear in some people's videos when they got the gain set really high. Now, the idea of a FetHead is it provides about 25 dB extra gain without such a high noise floor. And for the most part, this is true. It's not 100% clean gain. It's not dead quiet. The FetHead itself does have an inherent noise floor. Don't think it's completely silent. However, when it's at 80% on the Focusrite, there's not really much difference. It's only when you get to that extra 20%, the 80 to 100, that you start noticing that hiss starting to come up. And even then, I have to run the Procaster without the FetHead at around 90 to 100% gain on the Focusrite at the level that I'm speaking in order to get a usable volume. With the FetHead, I can run it at 45%. Now, I've done a test between the two. There is a difference in the noise floor between the one and the other. Is it huge? No, not to the point where I would say 100% you need to buy a FetHead for the Procaster. It's not quite there yet. Maybe with a more gain-hungry mic, even more so, like say an SM7B, whereby even 100% on the Focusrite won't be enough. Then yes, maybe. But for something like the Procaster, yes, it's very, very useful. 40% versus the 100% with a slightly noise floor. I find that helpful, and it also, the main purpose of it is it gives me that extra bit of headroom. So if there is a day where I'm speaking a bit quiet and whatever, I can just crank it up a little bit. I don't have to keep that high tone and high volume in my voice. Do you need it for a Behringer XM8500? No, I really don't think so. 80% gain on a Focusrite or a Behringer is going to be absolutely fine, at least personally, and hopefully you've been able to tell that from the demonstration. Why do I use one with a Behringer? Mainly because I have it for the Procaster, and I have a couple of them, and I take them with me when I go to interviews. I find them useful in the interviews because when I'm interviewing a guest, sadly, the microphone technique goes completely out the window, and it is one of the most frustrating things when you're doing an interview for a podcast, when you've got this amazing, fascinating guest, and you give them the microphone and they put it on a stand and they sit like this, and they're about 2 feet away and they're talking like this, and they're gesturing and all the rest. And whilst it's lovely and animated and it makes for a great video, it makes for appalling sound, and I sometimes have to crank up that gain a little bit just to be able to pick up something that I can use, and it's frustrating. So it's more of a more because of bad technique that I have to have the FetHead sometimes, and rather than anything else. And so, do you need one for a Behringer XM8500? No, you do not. On that note, I also, whilst trying to make this YouTube video, and even the first one, I was looking into making YouTube videos on YouTube. I was seeing what people were doing, and the amount of kit that people have and all the rest for productions and what have you it's astronomical. And I just wanted to say that I'm currently using the inbuilt camera on my late 2013 iMac. I've got desk lights shining around, which you can't see there off camera. I've got my Behringer XM8500, which cost me less than £15. The USB interface, this one cost me a little bit, about £125, a 2i4 second gen, back when I bought it. You can buy a solo one with one channel, a Behringer one, or for, I think they're less than £50. what I'm trying to say is you can get really good audio for very, very little money, and I would happily run my podcast with one of these. And if you've seen my first video, I was actually so frustrated when I got these after buying the Procaster that I thought I'd do a video to see if there was a comparison between the two. I think the overwhelming majority did say that the Procaster was better, even though it cost 10 times more, which is expected. But believe me, I'd be very happy to podcast with these, and with a little bit of EQing, you can actually get it to sound almost as good, if not maybe even better than the Procaster, with just a few minor tweaks. And and in actual fact, I have actually done podcasts with this throughout the whole early start of the pandemic, when I was in the hotel room, and that podcast on caffeine and what have you. I was using my Behringer XM8500 with a portable recorder in a hotel room, and I was still able to upload my podcasts, and it served me very, very well. All my interviews that I go to places back when you could travel, they were done with these. And so for $13.99 or wherever it was, you can't really go wrong. I love this microphone. So I hope it's been useful, and I look forward to joining you again next time. Bye.